Kenny, we were talking about flopping with Dwayne Wade. $5,000 for that. Is there anything you can do in the moment to prevent that?
I always am amazed how flopping now, getting fined for it. I thought it was a referee's job to figure out what happens on the court. Should it be called or not?
Yeah.
I always thought that was their job. So if a guy, every time there's a foul called or anything, I thought that was their job to do that. So when the guys start getting fined for faking a charge or whatever, I said, well, they've been doing that for every call is like that. But
you have hockey where if you take a dive, that they will give you a penalty. Soccer, they do that. What if you called the foul, you reviewed it, and then realized that Dwayne Wade did not get hit? Can you do anything in the moment? Could you give him a foul for doing that?
I think, like I said, your job with three guys is to figure out if someone's stepped on a line, dribbled the ball with two hands, or actually got fouled. That's your job. So when a guy fakes like he doesn't or did, it's your job to figure it out.
So you wouldn't do anything?
I just never thought that it was to the degree that you needed to find someone because it was doing what? It wasn't. I didn't feel it was like guys were flopping every play and it was slowing the game up. It was becoming ridiculed. No, it was making the referees look bad. That's about it.
Who was the worst flopper? Who was the guy who got away with more when you played?
The new coach of the New York Knicks, Derek Fisher. Flopper. He was great at it. Taking charges, fake charges. His body just contorts backwards if you touch him with your fingernail. He was a flopper.
Speaking of Fisher,
great defensive player at the same time.
If could you have coached a team after retiring? So what Fisher is doing, you end your career. Could you have gone in to be an NBA head coach right after that?
Yeah, right afterwards. Yeah.
Why?
I just feel that Dan. I've been saying this for a couple years now. Sports is the only job where your tenure as a player doesn't count as experience. Like, if you work for IBM and you worked there for 15 years, and then you moved into another department and you became the head, everyone will be like, oh, Dan's a hell of a guy. He deserves it. But in sports, they go, no, you got to do 10 more years, and then we can maybe make you the department head. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So, yeah, I think that the only thing that Derek and the guys and Jason probably had to do was there are some developmental things that you maybe have to figure out. But that takes about 3 weeks. And then if you can coach, you can. If you can't, they aren't the players I thought they were if they can't.
Well, Phil is also coaching his coach. So I think that he's going to have help from above. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and every department head at every company does as well. So that's what I'm saying. For sports,
no. You don't have that with Prokhorov. Nobody's coaching Jason Kidd. Nobody's going to coach the Laker coach. Phil is going to mentor. How about that? He's going to mentor Derek Fisher. They're not doing that with Steve Kerr at Golden State. Are they going to? Who's in the front office? Who's going to say, I can tell you how to coach?
But Billy King's job is to mentor Jason Kidd and to tell him what's going on, what he sees him as a general manager. That's his job.
Yeah, but that's different than Phil, though, Kenny.
Well, I think that he has a better mentor.
Yeah.
Possibly. But Phil Jackson's never been a general manager. So there's things he's got to learn on the job and on the fly as well. And who's mentoring him?
Okay.
So, like I said, it's just in sports. It's just a little bit different that people look at it differently than IBM. But both of these guys are doing jobs that are different than they've ever done.
Tougher to be a coach or a general manager?
I think the one thing that a general manager, a good one at least, has to do, it's difficult at times to evaluate talent or to evaluate the weaknesses in your team. I think it's easier to sometimes see what your weaknesses in your team than to evaluate what they're going to be and what this person can add to you and add to your team. I think that's much more difficult than coaching.
Talking to Kenny Smith, NBA on TNT, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Do you believe that the Lakers are waiting to hire a coach because they want to see what happens with LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony with free agency?
Well, I'm just surprised that they've gotten to this point because certain guys would attract anyone, you know. So, yeah, I don't know if they were doing that, but if you have the right person in place, I don't know if Derek Fisher was a guy that people would say, oh, that's going to keep Carmelo Anthony in New York.
Yep.
You know, that's the guy who's going to do it. So it's depending on how you set it up and how you set the fastball up. You know, if you throw a curve here and there, then all of a sudden the fastball is different. So I just think that setting up the person is just as important or more important than anything else because Phil Jackson is really the only guy out there who's now the general manager and president that you could say, well, that's going to change the complexity of a free agent.
Do you think what's the scenario in which LeBron would leave Miami?
I can't imagine you wanting to leave a situation where for the last 4 years, no one in the whole conference has been able to beat you. There's no team in the Eastern Conference has been good enough to beat them. You know, so you're foreseeing that you won't be good enough. And you're foreseeing that Pat Riley doesn't have the ability to add a piece or two to make you good enough. That, to me, would be astounding to not believe in Pat Riley and when you've gotten there 4 straight years. And I think that they've gotten there 4 straight years, and I'll go on record saying that won't happen again for decades.
That's a strong statement there. I like it. I don't know if I agree with you, but I like it.
I don't think that there's another team that will be constructed that can get to the finals 4 straight years in the NBA. It's just we take it so lightly because it's happening in the present. But I'm not even sure if, you know, the last time we could think of the Celtics in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to think about that. You're going to think about that as this. We watched history happen as it's happening.
Do you think LeBron is chasing a ghost with Michael Jordan, or we are assessing that he's chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan?
Well, I think that Michael Jordan becomes the great fishtail, and I don't think you ever gonna chase it and win while you're in the present. The same way Bill Russell was a fishtail that you could never beat that story. It'll be the kids who are watching LeBron now when there's Kenny Smith Jr. playing in the NBA going, he'll never be as good as that guy. You know, because they're admiring what he's doing now, and that tail will be bigger when he leaves the game.
The Rashad McCants story, you be a North Carolina alum. How do you feel about that diploma now?
Well, I think it was 2 things I thought about it. I thought the first thing, when I heard Rashad McCants was supposedly getting grades because he was a good player, I was like, I was 10 times better player than that guy, and they never gave me 1 grade. Like, I couldn't tie my shoelaces, and they never held me out. You know, that was the first thing I thought. And then the second thing I said, you know what? And seriously, Dan, though, there are, in every university, you could find a loophole and to try to get through college. Rashad McCants, obviously, the way he admitted that he found a loophole to do it. I do not believe that in any stretch, form, or fashion that Coach Williams had anything to help him do that. The same way I heard, you know, when I was in college that, hey, this fraternity they have the answers to the test. Hey, this guy over here, lady over here is selling the, And some people went and bought it. And they actually probably got the test and they made an A, and I didn't because of that reason.
But my problem, though, Kenny,
choose
they gave McCants straight A's. That's the biggest tip-off. Why couldn't you give him a B-?
Well, when you cheat, there's no logic in illogic. Like, cheating is illogical. You just got to cheat. That's not logical. Most people don't go through their life wanting to cheat. They go through their life wanting to succeed, and they like to endure the process that you have going through it because you have a sense of fulfillment. This guy wants to cheat, so he's going to get the. There's no logic in why he would get all straight A's. I don't think that it's the university administration. I think that he found the one or two tutors or whoever it might have that had the answers. Just like you could probably today find someone on campus who has the answer to the test. And he found that person, and he used it. For me, I went to the university 4 years, and this is the truth. I never had a tutor the whole 4 years I was there. There's not a person alive can say, well, I tutored Kenny Smith. Because I was out of study hall, so I never had a tutor because we get a certain grade point average. You didn't have to go to study hall. So I went to class, took the test, went to practice. I never have to talk to Coach about Coach Smith or Coach Williams, or the assistant coach, about grades.
Yep.
He found a way to cheat, and he used it. Just admit it. So you know what? I used my celebrity. I used my know-how to find a way to cheat. And I did it.
If you want to have more with Kenny, you got access to the Sprint Post Up. You can go to facebook.com/Sprint Post Up or hashtag Sprint Post Up on Twitter and Instagram. Always great to catch up with you, Kenny. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, man. And check me out on Sprint Post Up, at Sprint Post Up. I'm having some good times down here in Miami, and you'll get to see them, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Kenny.